Alrighty then. We're back again, guys. It's should we go with bad takes or still Untitled Movie Podcast?
Either is fine with me. Neither are going to make it in the end.
Alright, it's Chris and Jack again, back on Untitled Movie Podcast. Oh goodness. So yes, we decided to watch Scream 5, Scream 2022. Gotta say, just off the back, I know we'll give our opinions at the end. I liked it.
I also liked it. But I'm also a big Scream fan. I know that you are as well. Maybe you more so than me.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into it. So Scream 5 starts off like most Scream movies. There's a house. There's a young woman alone, and she answers the phone.
It's the exact same beginning as the original Scream.
Exactly. But yes, so opening scene, young girl is at home alone, and she answers the phone. She assumes that the person on the phone is some friend of her mother's, and she starts talking to him. And this person is Jenna Ortega, and her name
is Tara.
It's Tara. Man, I'm going to need this so badly.
Don't worry. They're in my notes this time. I've written down all the character names, or at least the important ones.
All right.
Her name is Tara in this movie. Also, to get this out of the way, Scream, the original Scream, fantastic movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely my favorite scary movie ever.
Oh, definitely.
So that answers Ghost Faces. Funny question right there.
So eventually the killer does the thing that he's known for. He's like, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And she says that. And then she slowly starts to realize that this person is watching her and knows what she's doing and starts threatening her. She tries to call the police, but he's threatening her friend, so she decides to play along.
Her friend Amber.
Who he shows a video of.
Yes, who is Mikey Madison, which will be very important later.
I know.
And this will be our first callback to our first podcast later. Just wait. If you've already figured it out, I'm very proud of you. You have actually watched the movies we've discussed.
You may be in the running for a $5 gift card.
Maybe.
Oh, God. But yeah, so Jenna Ortega is trying to answer these questions. He asks her a bunch of questions, which are callbacks to the first Scream movie, or Stab in the universe, which then leads to her getting most of them right, but missing the last one, and the killer jumps out of nowhere.
I mean, the last question is kind of shitty.
It's a trick question.
It is a trick question.
It's like, who's the killer in the original Stab movie? And she answers Billy Loomis, but she misses Stu Macher.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
You know. I mean, it is Ghostface. He's not going to play fair. Imagine if she actually said both. Would he just leave her alone?
See, that's the thing.
I've never seen any of them in any of these movies answer the questions correctly.
No, because it's always a trick question. That's another callback to the first one where he's like, who's the killer in the first Friday the 13th movie? And she yells, Jason, which is what almost anyone would say.
Right. Isn't it Jason's mom or something?
Exactly.
Right.
It's Mrs. Voorhees in the first movie.
That's right.
So only a horror fan could get this right. And me being a horror fan, he'd still try to kill me. I would... The entire time, I'd be, looking around windows, figuring out how to run. Yeah, I'll answer your questions. Yeah. Where is he?
I don't think you'd play around that much if you thought you were in a scary movie all of a sudden. You would take this very seriously. I feel like I'd have some fun with it. Test my luck.
I know, when I say take it seriously, I'm looking for him to curb stomp him. That's why I love these Scream movies, because, the female protagonists in these movies do not take shit. They throw punches. I love it about them.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Sydney is a badass.
Yes, she is.
She always has been.
Favorite female character probably ever in movies.
Oh. Best final girl.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
She's definitely the smartest and strongest.
Literally, at points she has, superpowers.
But she takes on people twice her size.
No, literally. Once again, we will talk about this later.
Goodness, we're starting about Scream again. Man, okay.
I told you, we can't help it. We like the original Scream too much.
We do. All right. So, the killer, she goes outside to confront the killer. He's at the door, cuts her. She closes the door, tries to lock it with some automatic locks, but the killer is able to mess with the locks enough to slip back.
I don't know how he does that.
Dude, it doesn't make... Because she keeps locking it almost instantaneously with her phone. So it's like...
Is it like her fault? Is she just like pressing it too quickly? It's locking, unlocking, unlocking, unlocking. Like,
yeah, like she's locking it, and he's somehow hacked into the like security of the house, so he's unlocking it, and she's locking it. But the thing is, she's so focused on the front door that at some point he snuck around to another door. So when he unlocks it, he slips in real quick before she's able to lock it again.
Right, naturally. And he calls her again, and he's like, haha, bonus question. Did I get in your house or not?
Yes.
Fun fact, he did. He for sure did.
And we know because he comes out of nowhere, and he stabs her so many times, my dude. Like, he cuts her, he stabs her in the side, like, he breaks her knee. Like
he does the iconic, overshot where he's right over her and slashes downward, and, like, somehow she lives.
No, exactly. She's been stabbed, like, a bunch of times. Like,
oh, yeah, she should be dead.
yes, like, this, and also this opening shows me how...
He snaps her leg.
He stomps on her leg.
He stomps on her leg, and it breaks. It's brutal.
Exactly.
Oh, Jenna Ortega in this movie takes a beatings after beatings after beatings.
Again and again. And that's not even, like, she's dragging herself to the door as she hears the police coming.
Right.
And he flips her over and stabs her, like, 2 more times. Like,
it is very brutal, especially for not even the main character.
Oh, dude, exactly.
Well, I guess that makes sense, because the main character never gets brutally murdered, but somehow, I don't know how she makes it through this entire thing.
Jenna Ortega or the main character?
Jenna Ortega.
Oh, dude, same. I don't know how she's walking at any point during this. Like, she
has crutches at the end.
We'll get to that at the end.
We have a lot to get through.
All right. But yeah, so she gets attacked as the killer's about to do the final blow. The credits come up for like a slash for like Scream, and we're switch scenes to outside of like a
it's a bowling alley.
Bowling alley. Yep.
Because our main character and her boyfriend work at a bowling alley somewhere, not in town.
Bethesda. I think Bethesda, California or something.
Once again, I don't even know where Woodsboro is supposed to be placed at.
Very fair.
Fictional town. Just somewhere in the United States.
Exactly.
Classic small town, whatever.
Of course, it's any other small town. But now we have, our main characters, Sam Carpenter, played by Melissa Barrera, and my main man, Richie Kirsch, played by Jack Quaid.
Fantastic character.
Dude, I love him too.
One of my favorite characters.
No, yeah.
So, you only watched this one time, right?
The movie?
Yeah, the movie.
I watched it twice.
Oh, shoot. Alright, we're on level playing fields. First go-around was not one of my favorite characters. Second go-around, definitely one of my favorite characters.
Yes, same.
Oh, God, like, this man is so funny, he ends up being so sassy.
Dude. Well, like, when he comes over to Sam or whatever, like, she's, like, taking some medication, and he's like, what are you taking? And she's like, your boner pills, right?
Yeah, she was like, I'm taking your boner pills. And I was like, this is a weird interaction already.
Yes, but then, he's like, but you're my boner pills.
Smooth. Very smooth. Good recovery from a very weird comment from her.
Exactly, and we're just, entranced by all the romance in this couple when Sam gets a call, and it's from Wes, a friend, old kid that she used to babysit, and he's a friend of her sister's, and she's basically telling her that Tara was attacked, which I was like, and that she's in the hospital, which I was like, I thought she was dead. Like, after that first scene,
I thought she was for sure dead.
No, exactly. Like,
I don't remember a time in the beginning of a Scream movie where someone doesn't die. This does not happen.
Dude, exactly. Like,
it's already switching it up.
No, it's subverting my expectations, because literally every opening, they all die. Like, yes, but anyway, she's like, all right, I gotta head back to Woodsboro to help my sister, and Wes is like, Richie's like, I'm coming along with you, and she's like, sure. So they head off to Woodsboro, and on the way there, they're talking about Stab and everything, and Richie's like, I've never watched any of that, don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, he definitely knows what she's talking about, but has he not seen them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Says he
hasn't seen them. And, she's like, this is like based on where I live or grew up or whatever. And he's like, really? Like, and then she explains the plot of the movie, and he's like, isn't that just Halloween?
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
That was pretty funny.
Like,
that's
not Halloween.
And then she's like,
let's...
okay, it's kind of like Halloween. It's basically Halloween.
It's Halloween.
Fantastic.
No, already Richie's just like, he's hitting it. He's hitting it so well.
Oh, his jokes are so good in this movie.
Dude, exactly. And then we switch back to the school.
We're back at Woodsboro High.
So we're back at the school, and we're introduced to our new cast of teenagers, would-be victims or killers. And already I'm enjoying the cast.
Oh, these group of characters are fantastic.
No, exactly. And the best thing is because they've had all this, like, history of, like, the stab movies, and they know about, like, the previous murders, they're just metaing up a storm.
Right. We're introduced to the characters, the two twins, Chad and Mindy. We get to meet Chad's girlfriend, Liv, and we get to finally meet Amber in person instead of over text message, and we get to meet Wes.
Yes.
We get to meet all these characters, and Mindy is the best character in the entire movie.
Yes, she is.
By far. Like,
of course
it's not even close. Like,
obviously. She's better Randy.
She's Randy, but she's better at it.
Exactly. She's Randy, but she's not held back by, like, Jamie Kennedy.
And naturally, she is related to Randy's character in the movie. Like, her name is, like...
Mindy
Meeks.
Exactly. Well, dude, literally, I swore they would have had a draft where it's like, oh, we'll call her Mandy. And they're like, that's too close. Mindy. All right, let's go with it. Like, she's Randy, but a girl and has game. Like,
she has game, she's way cooler, and she's way funnier.
Oh, dude, exactly.
She doesn't take it too seriously. Like, she is way more fun.
Oh, dude, she's taking all this in stride. Like, she's like, oh, come on, it's just like before. There's a murder. There'll be another one, and somebody will come along. And Wes is like, hey, Tara wasn't murdered. Yeah. He's like, what the hell? Like,
every one of these Scream movies needs an expert, and she is the best one since the original.
Man, so we're introduced to all these characters, and they're all just talking about who would be, like, the killer and possible, like, suspects and stuff, and
they're all creating motives for each other, and, the funniest one is definitely calling Chad's girlfriend Liv not interesting enough to be the killer.
Mindy's ruthless. She's like, it's obviously not you, Liv. Like, oh, thanks. You're too boring.
You're too boring is, like, harsh.
Not untrue.
There are some cold-blooded comments in this movie. The characters.
Dude, like 50% of them are Mindy, too.
I know. She's so harsh. It's so funny.
But yeah, we even have, like, Amber looking at, like, Chad's bruises on his arm or whatever, mentioning, oh, Tara said she fought back against the killer, Chad. And he's like, these are obviously from football. And, like, I just like that whole thing where, like, they're all aware, it's like, it's probably one of us, like, and they're all, like, very suspicious of each other.
Well, I mean, naturally, that's how every movie has worked so far.
Exactly, and they've seen all these movies.
And they've seen all the movies. They already know what's happening, like... They seem very relaxed about it.
They are the most relaxed kids on the planet. Like,
until we see the most suspicious character in the whole movie. Liv's ex-boyfriend, Vince.
Yes.
That guy.
The suspicious Vince, who's going to be such a key player in this movie.
The creepy adult who's hanging outside the high school.
Who hooked up with Liv like a summer ago or something.
Aren't there police officers there?
Why
are they not questioning the weird older guy who's just hanging out there? Like,
dude, honestly. Also, it's call back to last episode. These kids like 18, I guess, because the guy playing like Vince is obviously like an adult, and he hooked up with Liv previously.
Chris, you should understand by now that in teen movies, it doesn't matter. They're just teenagers.
Yeah, I gotta leave my moral code at the door with these movies.
Or your logic and reasoning. Doesn't matter. They're 18. Whatever.
Probably.
Next, they decide to go to the hospital.
Yep, to see Tara. And they show up.
Sam shows up.
Yep, she heads in there to see everybody. It's kind of odd, kind of weird.
It's definitely awkward.
Yeah. Well, we learned that, like, Sam's been estranged from her sister for, like, a number of years because she left when she was, like, 18 for some reason.
That we know she's above 18.
we do know Sam is above 18.
We know that one for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But yeah, it's very awkward. Amber clearly looks like she distrusts her.
Mm-hmm. She does not like, as soon as, like, Tara asks for the room so she can talk to her sister, and, like, Amber's like, are you good? Do you have your inhaler and everything? So we're seeing that Amber's very protective of Tara and stuff, but then heads out to leave her alone with her so they can catch up.
Mm-hmm. Moving on. Quick scene, kind of boring, whatever.
Yeah.
We're at the bar. The teenagers are at a bar.
They all have normal drinks, and you can see one of them is pouring alcohol from, like, a flask into their drinks. I think it's Amber.
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, they're just drinking and riffing and talking about the past.
Playing pool, chilling out. Amber's ripping on Sam, saying she's a shit person. Like,
exactly. Wes is like, you're being too protective. They all, Mindy says, calm down, Wes. We all know you have a crush on Tara. Wes is embarrassed. And then our main man, Vince, shows up.
Vince, the clearly, definitely the killer, shows up.
He's like, hey, you want a real drink? Stop messing around with these kids.
Yeah, and he does that whole, like, he kind of is like, I don't even know, is that like that Drake thing? Like, he's like rubbing his hands together, like, real weird, moving his head back and forth, like, ah.
He's like moving his lips and stuff, and you're like, only looking at Liv, completely ignoring everyone else around. And then, her boyfriend has to step up and, like, tells him to back down.
Right, exactly. Chad does a whole Chad thing, and,
Very
like,
Chad move.
Very Chad move. Big Chad moves out here.
Yeah. And then Vince, making the very logical, rational choice, pulls out a switchblade.
Naturally. And this gets completely diffused by the bartender saying that they all need to leave.
No one touches them or moves them out. She just tells them to leave, and Vince listens to authority, so he decides to leave, and they all leave.
Fantastic. Now we get to... I don't like this scene.
I don't either. It's just Vince is outside pissing on a wall.
Yeah. So Vince, this pointless character, is just like... We're supposed to think he's like a scumbag, and we're supposed to expect him to, like, be a killer or something.
Yeah, he's there to be like a red herring. He's
right.
Weird
Anyone who's watched any of the Scream movies is like, this dude's dead. Like,
no,
he's gonna die. That literally the next scene he dies.
Literally, like, the lights on his car get turned on or whatever. He thinks it's Chad. No one's there when he goes to look at it. Ghostface comes up from behind him, stabs him in the throat.
Oh, thank goodness the phone rings. Because when I saw this, I was like, oh no. This just took a terrible twist.
My thoughts exactly.
Oh god, already, I didn't... Okay, I'll get out with it right now. Sam is not my favorite character. She might be my least favorite character. The main character is not very good in this movie.
Yeah.
She's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Very rigid, not very believable. Maybe it's because she talks to ghosts. I don't know.
Well, she's just... Yeah, she doesn't have that much of a range. She's just kind of like, stiff and, like, protective, but, like, you don't really see a huge range of emotions besides, like, terror and I need to be tough. Like, there's nothing else there. Like, Jenna Ortega, she's showing all kinds of, like, range in this movie.
Oh,
like,
Jenna Ortega is the best actor in this entire thing. Like,
yes.
Literally, like, she's acting her ass off in this movie.
In the first 5 minutes of the movie, she's showing, like, how good of an actor she is. Like,
she probably should have been the main character.
She really should have been. They probably just like, well, no, the person has to be at least 26 years old because of the movie and all that stuff, but...
Whatever. The phone rings.
Yes.
It's Ghostface, naturally. Ghostface comes out into the break room, starts attacking her. She gets away. She tells the cop.
But Jack, the thing
is,
he attacks her in broad daylight in this hospital, and somehow the hospital's just abandoned. There's no one else in the break room. There's, like, nobody else in any of these hallways. It takes her, like, a few minutes to find anybody, and it's just a cop and, like, one orderly.
Oh, yeah.
There's nobody
in the entire hallway.
There's nobody around. And this is the first of 2 times this happens in this movie.
Well, to be fair, Chris, I'm pretty sure on purpose it's supposed to be that Jenna Ortega's character is supposed to be on an empty ward all by herself.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure that is said somewhere in it.
Gotcha.
If not, that is pretty weird.
Well, then if that is completely, that is true, even more reason because like after this, after she gets away from Ghostface, she comes back to her sister or whatever, and Richie and Amber also show up, and now we're back to another scene of people accusing each other.
Oh yeah, this seems to be the first actual like I'm accusing you of it, where Richie accuses Amber first, and then Amber like says, well maybe it was you, blah 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 blah, and they're both like shut up because Judy, Sheriff Judy, another great character. And Scream 4, not this movie. Decides to pull Sam out and is like, you should leave because you were a terrible teenager.
You were a pain in my butt, Missy. That's literally word for word what Judy said. And you should get out of here. So she takes that kind of hard, and she heads back in there to talk while she tells Amber and Richie to head out of there. And she goes ahead and tells Tara why she left. And it's basically, big surprise. Well, actually, I thought this was kind of funny. She found out that, her father, her and Tara's dad, isn't actually her father. And that her father is Billy Loomis.
Right, because she read it in her mother's journal.
That she kept around?
That she kept around in a chest somewhere in the, I don't know, somewhere in the house.
Dude, exactly.
Whatever.
It's such a weird thing. It's like, if your child is, by a different man, why would you keep evidence around in your home?
Right. Clearly she wants to keep this, like, a secret or something. Like, she's not told anyone, especially not the husband.
Exactly. And especially after you figure out that guy that you were into in high school was also a serial killer.
Should probably try to avoid this at all costs. Once again, very weird scene. It's a weird exposition dump. And, it's not believable. And it's like, seriously? Like...
No, exactly. And then also when she's like, I was so angry when I was saying it, I didn't even know that Dad was right behind me. And then he left that day. And I was like, all right. Dude, that kind of sounds like a poor father, though, too. Like, where, like, Tara's still his kid. Like, did he just...
Yeah, seriously.
Like, Tara definitely, like... And also...
I can understand him being, like, mad, but, like, where did he go? Like...
He just abandoned them.
He just abandoned them completely? Like, he doesn't keep in contact with any of them? Like... He fathered one of these children, at least, like...
Exactly, like... It's very weird. But, yeah, that's... big.
Kind of like Billy Loomis's mother.
Exactly. So many negligent parents in the Scream franchise when you think about it, like...
And in real life. Classic.
Oh, jeez. But, yeah, Richie's outside. He overhears this whole thing. Pretends like he doesn't, but then says he doesn't care and that he loves her or whatever.
Well, it's because Tara kicks Sam out because she hasn't told her, and my big question for this whole thing is, why did Sam not tell her? What is the reasoning that she didn't tell her? She said that her mom told her not to, and was like, you're the rebellious teenager, you broke every rule except for that one, like...
She wanted to protect her, and Tara's always like, protect me from the truth?
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense to me, like, why didn't you tell her, like... This explains a lot, like...
No, exactly, like, it's... Definitely. Hell, she could have just said, like, have some mental health issues or something, like, because she definitely does, like...
I see my dead serial killer dad in the mirror. He talks to me. This is a hard thing to explain to people.
That would be something. Imagine being Terry, be like, okay, so not only do you... Oh,
Have you tried drugs?
Maybe you should stay away. But yeah, that's... So we get that. We get another meta, like, reference where she's like, Richie, this is the part of the movie where you need to get out of here. Like, this is the part where someone's going to tell you to leave and you should leave. And he's like, nah.
He's like, I love you. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Solid. And so he stays.
He stays.
Thank goodness. I don't know where this movie would be without him.
Oh, exactly, dude. And now they know that what they need to do is they're going to stay. They need help.
So they visit. Such a good character. One of my favorite characters in the entire series. the sweet, the lovable Dewey.
Whose life has fallen into complete disarray.
Oh God, poor Dewey. He like lives in like a trailer now. Like the best part of his day is waking up early so he can watch Gail's morning show. At the end of Scream 4, him and Gail are still married.
Yes.
But in this movie, it's clearly shown that they're not together anymore. Right
They're
from the
separated. Yep. And as you see in the scene, they're also showing a bunch of alcohol, like bottles and stuff around. Like, so it's like he's an alcoholic. He's drinking a lot. He's
not taking this well.
He is not. And the two, Sam and Richie, show up to ask him for advice and stuff.
I don't talk to reporters. We're not reporters. Give me one reason why I should answer the door. I'm Billy Loomis's daughter. Opens the door. That's a terrible reason. Come in. Classic.
Dude, also, I thought that was kind of weird, though. Like, if I would have heard that, I'd be like...
Close the door.
I would go get my gun, too, and be like, get away from my home. It's like, what do you... why would you let two strangers... Like, you were Dewey. You survived 4 Scream movies. And 2 strangers, one of them saying they're Billy Loomis's daughter, want to come into your home? No. I don't like that.
See, I've always seen Dewey as this sweet, lovable goofball who, is just easily convinced to do really stupid things. So this does not surprise me. This is still in character for him, even though he has been stabbed 9 times throughout the series. Which he mentions.
He does mention that. But yeah, he lets him in and they sit down to start talking and stuff and everything. And immediately Dewey's like, alright, I got some ground rules for you.
He gives the 3 rules for this movie. 1, don't trust the love interest. And, obviously he's like talking directly at Richie.
No, he's like, how long have you known
How long have you known this guy?
Did he know about your father before you guys met? Is he into, the stab movies?
He's asking all the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, the killer's motive has to do with something in the past.
Yes.
And, once again, that works for every movie so far. So.
No, exactly.
And, of course, 3, the first victim has a friend group which the killer's a part of.
Yes. He nails all of it.
He's been through this 4 separate occasions. Oh, goodness. Fantastic. Still got all of our rules.
Hey, of course, man. It's not a Scream movie if you don't have the rules. Until, you throw them out, because then it's also still a Scream movie.
Or they just make up different rules.
Exactly. It's a Scream movie.
Whatever. So they asked Dewey to be a part of their adventure or whatever, help solve these murders. And he's like, no. And I was like, okay. So finally someone's being reasonable in this movie.
Yes. It's like, definitely not. And I agree with that. Because, that's what he mentions, how many times he's been stabbed.
Right.
And then they're like, you're already a part of this. The killer's going to come for you too or whatever. And he just throws them out.
He's like, whatever, I don't care. Then he calls the original final girl, Sydney Prescott, who's on a boardwalk somewhere running with a stroller. Sydney's a mom now.
Yeah, it's nice.
But naturally, Dewey has to go on this adventure, and the person who convinces him is Sydney, because she's like, well, at least they have you to depend on. And he's like, oh no, now I feel bad.
He's told them both to stay away from this, because he also texts Gail and tells her to stay away.
And says, hope you're doing alright, smiley face.
Mumbles to himself, I shouldn't have said smiley face.
He is right, we've all been there. We've all sent something that we wish we hadn't.
Oh, it didn't like exes.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so now we're back there. Sam and Richie have compiled the teens together to start interrogating them. And who shows up but Dewey?
Finally. Now we got everyone important all in the same room.
Quick thing, though. Did they text Dewey? How did he just show up?
To be fair, Dewey showed up real quick. He was real prepared. They had to have had, a 5-minute head start at least.
Well, he calls Sydney and texts Gail. Then he has to get ready, he changed clothes and stuff.
Right, he has to get out his box, get his gun, and I think he took his badge with him, which is kind of weird since it's not a cop anymore.
Exactly. Like,
Poor Dewey. Dewey's so sad. Oh, God.
Of course he is, dude. He's been a pincushion in all these movies. Goodness. But yeah, so Dewey's back in action. He's ready to help them figure out who the killer is. So they sit down at Randy...
At Chad and Mindy's house.
Yep. There's a memorial to Randy and stuff, and they start getting into what's going on.
This is a great scene.
Yes.
One of my favorite scenes in the entire thing, just because of how meta it is.
Dude, of course. Like, Mindy is taking no breaks. She's not waiting at all to jump into this.
She's explaining what this movie is.
Yes.
Completely. Which is also one of the best things about Scream, the entire franchise, that they always take a moment in all the movies to explain what this movie is going to be.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Ooh. And this time, she's making a point about toxic fandom, which eventually that's what this movie is going to be about.
Yes.
But I love that she talks about Rian Johnson.
Yes.
And she doesn't say it, but she talks about a sequel movie that Rian Johnson makes that everyone hated.
I loved it too.
Directly talking about Star Wars Episode 8, which everyone that loves Star Wars hates.
Yes.
So funny. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, and then also Liv being Liv in the scene. She's like, oh, wait, yeah, the director from Knives Out. I love that movie. It's like, of course you would. You're basic. Like, of course you would, Liv.
Knives Out, another good whodunit.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. This scene is fantastic. I love how meta it is. At the end, Mindy is accusing Sam of being the killer, which is literally the plot of Scream 4.
Yes.
Where the main character is the killer. Who's not in the original cast, naturally. And, I think, they poke fun at their own movies all the time. So, like,
no, exactly.
Even previous movies, and they're clearly making fun of Scream 4 and that, which I definitely enjoyed.
No, definitely, dude.
Oh, goodness. But now, we're going to the actual best scene in the entire movie. Sheriff Judy's house. I love this from beginning to end as, like, a horror sequence.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. First it puts you on edge because Sheriff Judy, like, sees the door open, she grabs a knife, and, it's just her son Wes who walks in. Also, Wes, I believe, is a reference to Wes Craven. Yeah. I think that's why he's named Wes.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely, for sure. But, yeah. And she tells him, oh, I'm going to go get sushi real quick. You should go take a shower. I don't know why this popped into her mind, but whatever. So she's going to go get sushi. Wes is in the shower. And naturally, Sheriff Judy gets a phone call from none other than Ghostface. Mm-hmm. And Ghostface, is being a dick as usual.
He's Ghostface.
He's Ghostface. He's, being weird and creepy and sinister, like, usual stuff. And, she realizes that he's going after Wes right now in the shower because he's like, have you ever seen Psycho? I think I don't understand about this scene is how she knows that Wes is taking a shower.
She asked him to.
No, how the killer.
Oh,
how Ghostface knows that they're taking a shower.
What is it?
Once again, superpowers.
Superpowers.
Thanks.
He somehow, we could, like, assume that possibly, I don't know.
They heard the shower from outside? I don't know.
He's somehow stalking him. I mean, there's an answer, but it gives away the next thing. But also, something I just love from that part is he does his signature, what's your favorite scary movie? And she's like, I don't like scary movies. I prefer animated films and musicals.
Based. Super based.
It's like, this is Judy.
So she gets back to the house. She's rushing up the porch, and Ghostface is on the porch hiding and stabs her in the front lawn and murders her on the front lawn.
Dude, he, like, stabs her, pushes her back, and kills her right on, like, the front lawn of her house.
She's, like, screaming, and
she's yelling for help.
She's yelling for help, and he just is butchering her. Fantastic. Oh. I know you probably don't like it as much as I do.
I like this. I mean, I like the killing scene for a slasher film. It's just
You don't think it makes sense.
no, it doesn't, because there's a murder on the loose. Someone yells for help in broad daylight outside. Like, there have been murders in broad daylight before and everything, but like, this is
You see, I think that this is some kind of commentary on on suburban living. Could barely get through that sentence.
how your neighbors really don't care about you.
No, that, you don't ever see anyone outside in a suburban neighborhood.
But yeah, so Sheriff Judy's dead or whatever, and Wes just finishes his shower, and he goes to open up the door to go into his room. The music is building, the audio is getting super suspenseful, and it's nothing. No one's in his room. He walks off to the side. We stay on the scene of the bed for a few seconds, thinking, because in my mind I was thinking maybe they do something crazy, like he just gets thrown back and like stabbed, but nope. He just goes downstairs, goes to get food. There's a
Well, he's setting up for dinner. He's setting like the dining room table or whatever for sushi, and like they keep doing this thing where he's walking by like open doors and like he's like closing them and like he's opening things, and it's like that shot where like his face is right here. There's something blocking behind him, and then he closes it, and there's nothing there. But the music keeps swelling like there's going to be something there. And it keeps doing it for like 3 minutes straight. It's so funny.
Exactly. And it builds up to him going to the front door and saying it's ajar. And he goes up to it slowly, and the music's building up and everything. Because, like, we keep having these scenes of him, going to these openings or these doors or whatever. And he just closes it.
And he just closes it. Which, you have to keep in mind that his mother's dead right there in front of the door. He just needs a look, and he'll see her.
He closes the door. And this is a good subversion right here, because, it's breaking that trope of, like, opening the door and the killer jumping at you, or, like, the killer being behind the door when you, like, open it and close it.
Right, exactly. This time, doesn't even care what's, behind the door, like, just closes it immediately, turns around, deep breath, bam! Ghost face! Right there, no music, no nothing, just shows up, and it's like,
Pushes him up against the door, overpowers him, and...
he's reaching for his taser, but he can't.
Nah. It's one of those things, too, where, like, I don't know, maybe, like, a rotation or something, or, like, he's not super on him yet.
He really needs to do the Sidney Prescott thing and kick.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Her kicks are legendary in these movies.
Oh, definitely, man.
And he does not kick at all.
He doesn't do really anything besides try to push him back. He doesn't kick, he doesn't rotate, he doesn't really do much besides try to not get stabbed.
Right, exactly. Terrible mistake. How foolish. Should have known he was in a scary movie. But yeah, this death, I think, is quite brutal. This one is probably the harshest out of any so far.
You see, he gets slowly stabbed into the neck.
Oh, you can see it popping out the other side, too.
Exactly. Like, that's what, like, dude, these scenes are very, like, there's been gore and stuff, but, like, these have been some brutal scenes already, like...
Oh, yeah, and the blood is just pouring out of his neck. It's horrible.
Terrible. You can see the life draining from him as he dies. Oof.
Fantastic.
But, yeah, that's the end of this literally killer scene.
Love this scene.
That's a good...
My favorite scene.
It's...
For sure.
It's probably one of, like, the best, like, horror scenes I've seen, because, like, it really... subverts your expectations of it in a lot of way.
Oh, all that stuff, like, completely unexpected. Like,
no, dude, no, exactly. I didn't like, cause it's one of those things too, where like usually with how a horror movie will work, you'll see one murder and it switches back to the movie for a bit, so that you get some more plot and stuff and everything, and like, but no, just immediately right down to the next kill, like
right, back to back.
Like I didn't expect that, and I was like,
and both are brutal.
Yes, both are brutal, and so close to each other, like they. Oh,
so good. But naturally, now we have to deal with the ramifications of this whole thing. And the police are all there, and everyone's showing up. We're introduced, again, to Gale Weathers.
Ah, yes.
Fantastic.
This is like, she's in a, like, red, like, suit again, just like the first movie.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They can't help but not do stuff like this. Like,
oh, dude, definitely not.
It's right there in front of them. Like, they have to do these.
No, exactly. And, she goes to, the scene of the crime to start filming it, and she sees Dewey. And this is I don't know. I feel like I've seen a bunch of these movies. This is like very intensive for them, like Dewey and like Gail. Like,
oh yeah, this turns into a soap opera.
exactly. This is like so like intense and dramatic. Like, I kind of liked it. I was like, this.
Well, I mean, it explains like, what happened between them, kind of. But like, if you haven't or you don't really care about the Scream movies, you don't care about this interaction at all.
No, this is for like the fans.
Yeah, this is
what happened.
purely
like,
for the fans. Like
it doesn't add anything really to like the movie. Like,
it adds zero to the movie.
Exactly. But yeah, they have.
Dewey dumped her. How?
He couldn't hack it, so he dumped her.
He couldn't make it in New York City.
And he moved back, and then they asked him to retire, and he's just been miserable.
Dewey's life sucks.
It really does. And that's all I really think we talk about here. Sam realizes that all the police are here.
And no one's at the hospital. Naturally. Oh my god. Everyone shows up and leaves her little sister in the hospital alone.
It's like a brutal killing just happened. We all have to go there and stop protecting the victim who's connected to this other brutal killing, or brutal attack.
God. So she decides to go. Dewey decides to come along with her. She calls Richie. Richie is still watching the stab movies.
He's watching a breakdown of the stab movies. Like,
that's right.
Pizza and like, oh yeah, man, you're right. This stab 8 is terrible. Like, it's no connection to the.
I love the comment where he's like, oh yeah, stab 5 is when it really starts falling apart.
Yeah.
Remember, this is Scream 5.
Exactly. I love that too.
They can't stop making fun of themselves.
No, of course, dude. It's Scream. It's
but yeah, she lets Richie know what's going on. They head to the hospital. And this was what we were talking about earlier. We're back with Tara. We're in the hospital room, and she's watching Dawson's Creek.
Exactly.
But, Tara, being the smartest character in probably any of the Scream movies, realizes that something's wrong, without really anything even happening at first. And she gets in her wheelchair, which looks extremely painful considering her leg is snapped. Her hand... Oh, God. Forgot to mention this in the beginning.
Stab.
I hate it when they do that in Scream movies, where they stab someone through the hand, and that's what stops them from killing them. It's so brutal.
It's awful. Like, she got stabbed so many times in that beginning scene. I'm surprised she survived that. But yeah, she had that stab wound, so now her just moving the wheelchair is causing her hands to bleed.
Yeah, it's reopening that wound, so it's bleeding. You can see the blood on the wheel as she's turning. As
terrible, it's horrible. Oh god. But yeah, so she
rolls out. Actually, there was a cop there.
Yes,
there's a dead cop.
Yeah,
or dying cop.
Dying cop. He's bleeding out, and Tara, again being the smartest person in this movie, goes over to him to look for his gun. And it's gone.
Very unfortunate for her.
Very unfortunate.
She does the best thing that she can do and tries to hide.
Yes. She, while hiding, tries to call for help, but then hears someone approaching. So she grabs the phone, preparing for who it is, and it's none other than Richie.
Hey, what's up, Richie?
Yep. Hits him in the head or whatever. It's like, what are you doing? And
he's like,
what the hell? Like,
he's got good comedic timing.
Jack Blade's funny. Oh, God. But he's like, your sister told me to rush over here that you might be in trouble or whatever. It's like, oh, okay. And then, out of nowhere, Ghostface just right behind Richie. Goes to, cut him, slices his arm or whatever, goes to stab him. He blocks, smashes Richie's head into the wall. And Tara, not losing a step, throws, a heart monitor or something into Ghostface and starts wheeling her butt out of that room.
Oh, yeah. Wincing the entire time because, her hand is bleeding and she's completely fucked up still.
Oh, yeah, no, dude. She is going, 0.1 miles an hour. She's not moving fast.
She is trying her damnedest. He takes her out of the wheelchair. She's crawling. She's going even slower than she was before.
Exactly. And
we are in a doomed situation.
No, yeah. And since the killers picked up Richie's phone, because Sam was trying to call him to see where he was, and now the killer's taunting Sam, asking her, pick your sister or your boyfriend, I'm going to kill one of them. And this
reminds me of that scene in original Spider-Man. You never know when there's going to be a villain with a sadistic choice.
But we're the New Yorkers to save them.
Seriously, though. Oh, goodness.
But I actually like this because, Sam's panicking on the phone. He's, like, telling her to pick who. He's saying, like, maybe you're not strong enough to lead this movie. I like that line. And, she's like, maybe I'm just stalling. And then the elevator opens up and Dewey starts letting off ammo into this guy, like...
Well, misses
him,
misses the first two shots because Dewey is notoriously terrible at shooting. He has horrible aim.
It's all the nerve
all
damage.
These movies.
I don't think he's... Dude, in the first movie, I don't think he fires off a single shot. He's just immediately stabbed. So we can honestly say it could be nerve damage. Because, dude, he just comes out like... And, like, he has the mask or whatever, like... And he's stabbed in the back and he falls.
Poor Dewey. But yeah, Ghostface runs off. They go to collect both Tara and Richie. They're leaving, and naturally, no one looks to the left. The place where Ghostface ran off to. Ghostface comes back out.
Yep, starts fighting Dewey. Richie falls, and Sam is with Tara near the elevator, and Dewey's just fighting for his life against the killer. And in this moment, dude, I can understand that maybe Richie has a concussion, but Sam, I don't know, dude. It'd be like, Tara's not actively bleeding out besides maybe her hand. It's not that bad. Go help Dewey.
Sam needs help.
Sam
needs the help in this situation. But Shirley doesn't.
She doesn't do anything. Like, I was like...
Very good line. Dewey's about to get stabbed. And he says, not today. Because he gets stabbed in every movie. And he's like, not this time.
Dewey actually shows off some pretty good hand-to-hand combat.
Really
like,
does.
He's, like, flipping him over and stuff. And, like, he's actually showing, like, oh, you actually have some training. I've never seen that in any of these movies. Like,
I mean, he was sheriff.
He was, but dude, literally he gets his ass handed to him in every movie.
I know.
He, like...
To be fair, he should be winning this fight. And eventually pulls out, he gets his gun back, he shoots Ghostface 3 times in the chest.
Yes.
And then they all run away to the elevator.
Gets Richie back up, gets them all in there, and then it comes to Dewey's mind, he's like, oh wait, you always gotta shoot him in the head. And they're like, what? No, screw that, get in here, we gotta leave. And he's like, no, I gotta do this.
This is an excellent point that he makes.
It is an excellent point, but at the same time, the next best point would have been his foot going into the elevator and saying, let's all go over there.
I didn't say this was properly executed. Or, I guess some fans would say it was properly executed. Naturally, Dewey goes over there. He's reloading his gun. He looks like a badass. He gets a phone call. He looks down for a second, and Ghostface is right back up and murders him.
Guts him. Like,
Guts him.
Like, right into the lower gut. Pulls out a second knife to the back.
Ooh!
Pulls up. Oh, my God.
Moves upward. You can see the blade go up through him.
God.
Ooh.
This is actually gutting and just leaves him splattered on the ground. It says it was an honor.
Well, first, before that, Ghostface was like, today. Ghostface, still a dick. Can't help himself. Never can.
Of course, he's a demented movie fan.
Sick and sadistic. Every time.
Dude, everyone who loves movies that much, they're all capable of this.
Ha ha!
Almost all of them.
Only you. Oh, God. Poor Dewey. And that's what makes this movie real. They made the joke at the beginning where, like, they have to kill one of the original characters. And they, they go through with it. It kind of sucks considering what happens later, and you look back and you think about this scene, and it's like, wait a second.
Exactly.
But we'll get there.
Those would be after comments.
Moving on.
So, yes. Dewey's dead. They all come to the hospital, but the scene kind of opens up with Gail showing up to the hospital. She was the person who called Dewey on the phone. kind of got him killed, I guess.
Yeah, Gail sucks. It's all her fault.
I'll talk about that at the end of this movie. But
we'll get to it.
But yeah, oh my goodness. So Gail runs up. Sam and Richie hold her back because she sees a body being wheeled out or whatever, and it's Dewey, and she knows. Without anyone saying it, she just knows it's Dewey.
Right.
But yeah, so then after that, they're
just in the lobby.
Back in the.
They're in the hospital, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, they're Sam and Tara are back in the hospital, and they're just talking. She's gotten some better pain medication and stuff and everything. And she's forgiven her for everything for like lying to her because she came back and saved her life. The people in the lobby, like Gail's in the lobby with like Sydney.
Mm-hmm. Sydney shows up.
Yeah, Sydney shows up.
She's finally back in town once again.
She just knew she had to come back because Dewey told her to stay away, but she's like, nah. She realizes that.
Well, I don't know how this works, in the movie, but she said, I came as soon as I found out. I assume that means she knew that Dewey was dead.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know how far away she is from Woodsboro, and she gets there fairly quickly.
It's true, and I'm guessing this maybe appeared on the local news, though? Like, it wouldn't be like if Gail didn't tell her, who would have told her?
I have no idea.
We're just gonna step over that hole. All right, so
these are just little nitpicky things. Whatever.
They are. It don't hurt the movie entirely. It's just me being extra critical.
Well, I mean, finally we have Sydney back. Fantastic character. We love Sydney.
Of course,
as we've mentioned.
She's the best, honestly.
We needed her back. We need her to save the day because everyone else is incompetent. Clearly.
Exactly. Besides Sam, who in this moment. Comes up with a brilliant idea where she's having another hot meta take where she's like, we're going to do the thing that no one ever does in these movies and get out of here. Where she starts getting...
Brilliant plan.
It's amazing. It's like, if you don't stay where the murders are happening, there's a good chance you're not going to get murdered.
That is an excellent point. And, this is a very fun scene because they're leaving. Sam, Tara, and Richie are leaving.
They're getting out of here.
And Sydney comes up and she's like, hey, we need to go murder Ghostface.
Dude, I loved it. I loved how straight up they were about it. Like, it's like, I can't leave this guy around. I won't feel safe. My family won't be safe. You won't be safe. We gotta murder. Like, it's not like they don't do things like we gotta take care of them or stop them.
They use the word murder. We're going to murder Ghostface. Yeah. I will not be able to sleep until I murder him. Yeah. I was like, that's fair.
Dude, exactly. It's in that moment when you remember, like, oh yeah, Sydney's murdered like 5 people by now.
Oh, she's killed a lot of people.
No, exactly.
And I mean, finally this makes sense, and this is where my biggest comparison to Scream 4 is going to come from, where in Scream 5, Sydney is not about this anymore. She's ready to just take care of business. She is not fucking around anymore. Yes. It's time to do this and leave. Mm-hmm. And 4, she's still making stupid mistakes that she was making in the previous movies, which is unbelievable because she keeps going through this and she isn't learning anything.
No, exactly.
But finally, by the 5th one, she's like, all right, I know exactly how to handle this.
Because in this movie, everyone is so sure this is a movie. This is what's happening. And the
requel.
Like with Sam saying, we need to leave, and her being like, no, we need to find the killer. And she's basically like, what, so I'm bait? And Gail's like, well...
If the shoe fits. Yeah. Ooh! Gail's still a bitch.
Dude,
but we love her.
She is a bitch, but she is better in this movie, which has always been an issue with her character, is...
she's always been a scumbag.
Literally and she goes through journeys in every movie, and then they just make her a scumbag again.
Right, exactly. It's very strange.
Exactly. But this time, she's not that bad. She came back to, see Dewey, and they made her bring her, TV people or whatever, everything, but she wanted to see him, and she wants to kill this dude to end it, and for vengeance,
These are very good motives for murder, which they explicitly say they're going to do.
No, exactly.
Fantastic. But naturally, Sam, being smarter than everyone so far, is like, no, we're leaving.
We're getting out of here. This is not happening.
Excellent point. They decide to leave, and Sydney says that she put, a tracker in her car,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, "Ooh, this sounds like something Gale Weathers would do." I was like, "No, this sounds like something Obi-Wan Kenobi would do." Haha, Star Wars again.
But Sydney doesn't need credits. Oh my god. But yeah, so they're tracking the car or whatever, and as Sam and Richie and Tara are driving away, Tara's like, I don't have my inhaler. I need my inhaler. And she's like, oh my goodness. And maybe we need to go back. And Richie is like...
She's like, maybe we can go stop at a pharmacy. She's like, I don't have a prescription. Chris, you're the expert on this. Does she really need to go get this or not?
Yes.
Oh, damn. See, that's fair. And I did not know that. And clearly, Richie does not know that either. Because Richie's like, fuck that. Yeah. We're leaving. Yeah. We're getting out of Dodge. Like,
it's like, we are not going back to the murder hospital.
I'm not going to the murder hospital. Like, I'm not staying in this town. He's just being so sassy and so funny. I love him.
Exactly. He's being sassy and funny, and he's making sense. He's like, he's been watching these movies. He's like, he knows how this works. And then she's like, well, maybe we can stop by Amber's or whatever. You know, she has, like, my spare inhaler. And, like, they're all looking at Rich, and he's like, fine. And then we switch to the Amber's place, which...
The party scene, which... Naturally, every Scream movie has to have the party house scene.
Exactly. Especially when you're, like, you know, rebooting the original. You gotta have the party scene, because when there's a murder on the loose, you gotta get together with your friends and drink.
Well, I mean, this one kind of makes more sense, because it's memorial for Wes, since he's dead.
That is true.
But it's still just...
it's a party.
It's a party, and they're just getting drunk, and, you know, they're making... all the mistakes that Randy would absolutely hate.
Dude, exactly. Well, exactly, they're making every single mistake. Besides kind of like, you know, obviously Mindy and Chad. Like, and Mindy in the scene, she's like, we need more beer. And Amber's like, all right, I'll go get some from the basement.
I'll be right back.
And you just see, like, Mindy just stare at her.
Mindy's like, this bitch.
Amber goes downstairs into the basement.
Naturally, the light doesn't work either.
Obviously, the light
doesn't work.
So she takes out her phone and uses it as a light and goes downstairs. She goes, opens up the fridge door, grabs a few beers, and when she closes the door, ba-ba-ba, there's Mindy, staring right at her.
You know, classic, you know, that's what we expected earlier in the movie. Now it's finally giving us, you close the fridge and someone's right there.
Exactly.
But it's only Mindy, and both of them are joking around about them being the murderer.
Yeah. Because she's like, you never go down into a basement alone while there's, like, a murder around. You ask somebody to go with you. And she's like, well, what if I'm the killer?
And you came down into this dark, spooky room with me. And it's like...
It's like, well, you can't be because I'm the killer. And then Mindy immediately breaks, like, I'm not the killer, but you see my point.
Oh, goodness. It's literally recreating the Tatum scene in Scream 1.
That's immediately what I thought was about to happen. I was like, oh, no way. Because at first I was like, because I was kind of suspicious, and I was like, no, she about to get gutted. Oof.
No, yeah, it's literally the same thing. The girl is going down to get beer, and the lights aren't working. She's secluded. And, you know, whatever. I'm going to spoil this anyway. We're going to find this out in, like, 5 minutes anyway. This is the same house.
Yes.
This is the exact same house. This is Stu Maker's house.
Exactly.
That Amber happens to live at.
No, exactly. But yeah, so, you know, they head back upstairs or whatever, and Chad and Liv are making out pretty hardcore on the couch, and I love this, because, like, she's like, I'm ready, let's go do it. I know, like, I've been, like, you know, not having sex with you till now, but let's go have sex. And Chad, doing the biggest Chad
classic
move,
Chad.
he was like, how about not? And she's like, what? This is all you've ever, like, wanted. And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm thinking maybe we should stay down here with all the people, you know, around, because I'm not quite sure that you're not the killer.
And she gets real mad at this. And, you know, her being the only person who doesn't realize that this is a scary movie. This is why she's offended. The most boring character does not realize this. Mindy was right.
Mindy was completely right. She is the most boring character, and she's the only...
She's clueless. She does not understand what is happening.
She's the only person that's, like, hasn't been making any accusations or hasn't been, like, aware. It's like, you're in a scary movie. Like, everyone else is
right. She overreacts, and she runs out the door.
Yeah.
And, naturally, Chad, after a little bit, is like, all right, I'm going to follow her.
And Mindy's like, why? She's probably dead.
Mindy is cold-blooded.
Like,
but then again, she actually understands the situation.
No, exactly. Like, it's like, do not go out there. And after he says, no, I gotta go find her, she's like, at least take a weapon. And he grabs, like, a
It's a candle
holder.
Yeah, candle holder.
Yeah. But he heads outside to, like, the back, and, like, he gets a message from her that's sharing her location. So he starts following her location. And it's, like, taking him out into the bushes behind the house or whatever.
This is a very precise app, whatever this is.
Dude,
this shows exact location. I don't know how this works.
It shows the exact location within, like, 5 feet. Like,
yeah, that is incredible.
No, yeah. But, he's, like, following her, and, like, he wises up a little too late, because as he's going back there, he's like, nah, this is a bad idea, and he starts to turn back, but it's already too late.
It's already too late. Ghostface is right behind him.
Yep.
Naturally.
Gets stabbed in the leg. Oh, my goodness. He's bleeding out
He's
like crazy.
bleeding out so badly. There's so much blood pouring out his leg.
Dude, clocks Ghostface with the candle, starts running away, gets behind some bushes, and, like, runs to, like, behind a
shed.
A shed, yeah. We just see him, like, panicking. He's trying to, like, call 911, but there's blood all over his phone. And he sees, like, Ghostface is coming.
Right, the tracker's still working. He chucks the phone.
Oh, goodness. And then, like, he's, like, doesn't see him or whatever, so he's, like...
He, like, takes a couple deep breaths, and then he decides to start running, and then he's like, oh, wait, I'm bleeding out profusely, and he slows down so much, so quickly.
Yeah. And Ghostface super dramatically opens up the door of the shed.
Ghostface always has to make a spectacle out of this. Somehow has made it inside the shed without him realizing this.
Dude.
Goes up and just starts stabbing him and stabbing him.
Stabs him so many times.
And then, of course, we see Sam and the gang roll up in their car, and naturally they don't see any of this occurring.
No, of course. They literally drive right past and park. And, like, Ghostface sees, so, like, right before stabbing him again, slips away. And they head inside or whatever, see him.
Love this little interaction between them in the car. It's why I love Richie so much in this movie. Where, like, Sam was like, alright, I'm gonna go up there real quick, I'm gonna get this inhaler. And Tara's like, I'm coming with you, like, I wanna go see them. And then Richie's like, well, I'm not gonna stay in here, I'm gonna die!
Like, you think I'm gonna wait in this car and get murdered?
An excellent point.
No, exactly, because he's seen these movies.
He's binged all the movies.
He saw what happened to the fat TV guy, like, in the first movie.
You don't stay outside. You go inside.
You don't stay alone anywhere.
Anywhere. Oh, goodness.
But that brings up another great point. They head inside. They're all a bunch of drunk teenagers. They recognize Tara, say, what's up? Amber comes over to say, how are you doing and stuff, and get her inhaler. And then Amber has the brilliant idea to be like, all right, guys, the party's over. Get out of here. And I'm like, no.
Strange choice.
You don't end the party.
Very strange choice that you decide to end the party.
Exactly.
At this point.
Exactly. It's like, that's the worst idea.
But naturally, this is saved by Richie. Because Richie's being real funny about it, and he's like, attention, Gen Z, please leave.
It's like, there is a murder on the loose, as you recall, and the girl that he attacked is here now. So he will most likely be coming to this party. And they're like, fuck you. Like,
you're the worst.
You're lame. And he's like, all right, fuck you guys. Get out of here. Get lost. Try to be nice. Get out. Like,
oh, you left your cup. That's real nice. He's so funny.
He heads into the house, and he's, like, looking for a beer or whatever, and sees Mindy on the couch. He's like, hey, Mindy, you know where the beers are? And she's like, they're in the basement, Richie. And he's like, oh, okay. You want to come with me to the basement?
And she's like, no, but good on you for asking.
Yeah. He's like, all right, I'll be back.
I'll be right back. And he's like, ooh, no. And they both, like, giggle about it.
Yeah.
It's like, there are so many just fun, enjoyable moments like that.
No,
like,
exactly.
That makes it just, this movie worth it. Like,
because everyone's having fun with the material. Like, because, like, even these characters were in this scary situation. They're movie fans, and they. Like,
oh yeah, And it's the two best characters on screen when they're doing this.
Yes, they're like
Richie and Mindy. Oh, God. But then, so Richie goes downstairs, and then it gets real weird, real quick, because Liv comes back out of nowhere, and she's being super sus.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, oh my goodness, my Uber canceled. I can't get laid or whatever. Oh man, what am I gonna do? And like, Mindy's like, where's my brother?
Liv's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, he was out looking for you. And she's like, well, maybe I did it. Maybe I'm the killer. Like, maybe I'm not so boring anymore. And, like, Mindy is like, what the fuck? Like, all right, well, you've officially made it on the list. And Liv just disappears.
And it's one of those times where it's like, Liv isn't really, like, she hasn't been fleshed out as a character at all. She is kind of boring. But this is still kind of weird for, like, it's your boyfriend and stuff, and he's missing. A serial killer's on the loose. And you don't really seem that worried. Like, you left, he got very worried and wanted to go check on you. She is like, who cares? I'm going to eat these chips and dip. Like,
Liv's a weird character.
Very weird character. It's like, ah. But then comes one of my favorite parts where because the whole time Mindy's been watching Stab. And, like, her brother earlier was like, don't you think it's weird?
Because they can't help themselves in these movies to be watching the Stab movies and these movies.
They can't at all. But, like, Chad mentions, like, don't you think it's weird that, like, you enjoy watching a movie where our uncle got stabbed? And she was like, screw off. But, like, she's watching the scene from the original Scream movie where, Randy is, like, watching, watching Prom Night with Jamie. Or it may have been Halloween.
I think it's Halloween.
And, like, the killer is
because it's Jamie Lee Curtis.
She's also in Prom Night. That's why, like, I'm unsure.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. You would have been attacked by the killer. You got that question wrong.
Oh, God. I don't know. No, I don't know enough about this. I don't like scary movies.
But, yeah, so in the scene, like, Jamie's like, look out behind you, Jamie. Come on, pay attention. So it's, like, 3 times meta now because it's like... her watching Jamie watch Jamie, like, and they're all, like, not aware of the killer that's right behind them or whatever. And then also, it's in this scene when I'm really looking at Randy that you notice, her and Randy have, like, basically the same outfit on. A green shirt, those, like, red pants.
Oh, yeah, and they're laying on the couch, like, the same way. And then they get up and they're sitting in the same way, like, bleeding at the TV in the exact same way. Oh, it's so good. Exactly. And naturally, Ghostface is right behind her.
Exactly. And this time, they subvert our expectations again, because in the original, the killer decides to skip over Randy and head outside to attack the cameraman and Sydney. But this time, they just attack Mindy. But
Mindy realizes this because she's like, oh, wait, I'm still in a scary movie.
Yeah.
This is going to happen. And she turns around and she's like, oh, fuck. Like,
Yep, Sam's in the house. She hears a scream, rushes over, sees Mindy fighting with the killer, and takes a lamp and smashes it over the killer's head. And the killer runs away.
He scurries off.
Dips away. And then she's trying to stop the bleeding on Mindy. And everyone rushes into the room.
Literally everyone comes into the room. Amber and Tara come in first, followed by Richie, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then last is Liv.
Yep.
And Liv has blood all over her hands. Mm-hmm. And, naturally, in every Scream movie, and pretty much every horror movie, if someone comes in with bloodied hands, they're the killer.
Mm.
Naturally. And she's just been super sus. And this did trick me. I did think that she was involved at this point.
Well, like, her character's been so weird and everything through this point that I was like, maybe. Like, because, like, the interaction after, like, her boyfriend vanished and her not really caring, very odd to me. It'd been perfect for her to kill him or whatever. She dipped away from Mindy and then could have come back. Like, at this point, right. My thoughts are, like, it's her or it's Richie. Because, like, Tara's been with, like, Amber this entire time or whatever. So it's one of them that had to have just done this.
But then, out of nowhere when they're all accusing Liv.
All panicking, accusing Liv and everything, and she's like, "I'm not the killer." Amber's like, "I know you're not the killer."
She pulls out a gun and shoots her in the head.
And she immediately, and she's like, "Oh, we're about to enter Act 3." Welcome to Act 3, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh my goodness, so good,
dude. Exactly.
Now, I pegged her to be a killer right from the beginning. Personally.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, this is a Scream movie, so there will be a second killer that's revealed. This is the only one I got correct.
I got the second one right. I was not sure about her.
I was really unsure about the second one, but I was for sure about Amber from the beginning.
That's fair.
Because in the first scene, she's texting Amber, and then all of a sudden Amber's being, like, texting her, like, answer the phone, bitch, like. And it's like, they're telling you from the beginning, like, there is no other interaction going on, like.
That is true.
Had to be. I had that hunch. And she's super weird. And weird looking. She had to be a killer.
My good tip and then my prejudice.
Exactly.
You're a better detective than Kevin Bacon.
Aha, there's another callback. We'll get there.
But yeah, so like Amber was shown to be one of the murderers or whatever, and everyone dips besides what is it? Besides Tara,
who literally can't run away.
Can't run away. She's fighting with Amber. At this moment, I thought this was kind of weird because it's like, Sam, your crippled sister is fighting with the murderer, and you dip.
She has a gun. Amber has a gun. What is she supposed to do?
Tara's wrestling with her right now. Like,
I don't know.
I do see. For me, if that was my brother or whatever, I don't like. I'd risk.
Your brother or your sister?
I have a brother, so if it was my brother,
I know that's fair.
Yeah, but yeah. So and then like, Richie and Sam head downstairs or up to the basement, and like they're both freaking out or whatever and everything, and then like she's gonna head back upstairs or whatever, and Richie grabs her and it's like, wait, Sam, there's always two killers, and just looks at her for a second, and she's like, she has a knife with her, really pulls a knife on her.
And it's like, well, clearly you're the second killer, and he's like, what?
What?
Me? And then he gives his own explanation, and he's like, no, Tara's the second killer. And once again, this is the plot of Scream 4. Where the main character, basically...
Well, the new main character that they're setting up is the killer. No, exactly. See, and like, I think that... You know what? No, I'll talk about that at like the end. But yeah, so he's setting that up, but she still doesn't trust him, but she's uncertain now. So she rushes outside and everything, and then we finally Sydney and Gail get to the house. And
this is fantastic. They are both just such badasses.
No, Sydney's got her gats in the back of the truck ready.
Yeah, they're loading it up. Amber is, coming out of the house, and she's like, oh, please help. He stabbed me.
And she's fainting like she got stabbed, trying to like throw them off. And they're both...
They just look at each other, and they're like, is this a trap? And they're like, it's a trap. And then Amber's like, fuck this. And she just starts shooting at him.
Gets Gail in the side.
Gail gets shot in the stomach.
We'll talk about these wounds at the end. Gail gets...
No, I'll start already with this. This is a ridiculous wound. Even Sydney's like, we need to get you to the hospital. And Gail's like, no, we have to end this. And I was like, what? Is it really worth you dying?
She should have been like, I didn't die last time on this lawn. I won't die this time. But yeah, so Sydney heads inside, not taking any fucking like chances. She's like, hey, I'm in the house. If you are the killer or not, I'm going to be shooting.
I'm going to shoot through the doors. Yes. You either come out or you don't. You're going to die.
Like, bring yourself out with your hands up or I will shoot you.
And she keeps her promise. She walks up to every door and shoots clean through it.
Yes. And then we get some more meta commentary because the killer decides to call her to mess with her. And she's like, really? The same house? You may be the most derivative of all of them.
It's quite brutal. It's very harsh. It's very mean of her. And it is completely fair at the same time.
Well, 'cause this one feels like the most spiritual successor to like the first movie. Like
No, yeah, it's literally like the same thing. Like,
Like the only difference is they can reference the first movie multiple times, like
which
the
is
others.
fantastic.
Exactly. Oh god, but yeah, she's just letting off like bullet shots into each of these doors.
She shoots through the final door, which Richie happens to be inside of.
Yep.
She shoots him in the leg.
And Richie, as Richie does with all of his fantastic comments, she's like, "Why didn't you come out?" He's like, "You were fucking shooting me like at the door. Why would I come out? Like you've been shooting me.
There's a killer on the loose."
Like you've been shooting at doors. Why would I come out? Like you shot me in the leg."
He clearly does not understand that this is Sidney Prescott.
Yeah.
How foolish.
Exactly. But then everyone's cut off guard. We had this fair comedic moment. I'm definitely caught off guard. Killer jumps out of the door right next to it.
Literally right next to it. And, naturally, Sydney has to be brutalized, and this is the beginning of it. Where they go over the balcony, upstairs, and just land straight on the ground.
They are both disoriented. Obviously, they just fell from the second floor to the...
Sydney's yelling up to Richie, "Get the gun," and he's like hobbling down the stairs. He's like, "Well, I would, but you shot me in the leg."
It's like, fair point, Richie. Very fair point. In this moment, too, Sydney's completely like, all right, this is the killer. Richie, go for the gun. Like, I know at least you're not the killer right now. And then, like, who gets to the gun first? Sam.
Bang. Where was she? The last time we saw her, she was contemplating whether or not to let Tara out of her bondage.
Yes,
upstairs.
Because she was tied up upstairs, and she goes to immediately cut her loose, but then gets suspicious because of what Richie said.
Classic. But Sam gets the gun. She points it at Amber. Richie's down there. And then Richie stabs Sam in the midriff.
I wanted to kill you myself.
Brutal. I actually didn't see this one coming.
Oh, dude. I saw this one coming only because of my Scream movies. Like, the scene where he gets cut on the arm is...
See, rewatching it the second time, then I was like, oh, he got cut on the arm. Of course he's a killer. Like,
dude, exactly. Like,
that happens in every movie.
Exactly.
I didn't notice.
It happens in, like, the second movie, too, where it's kind of like... Because I knew they were trying to subvert things in the second movie with Sydney's boyfriend, he goes to chase after the killer after he attacks her, and then the killer cuts him on the arm. And then the actual killer in that movie is putting thoughts in Sydney's head, like, he only got cut in the arm? That's pretty suspicious, like, and she's mentioned how, like, he's, like, a pre-med student, like, he would know anatomy and everything to throw you off. So in this movie, as I'm naturally knowing they're trying to throw me off, knowing that, I'm like, oh, he's the killer. Also, Scream attacked them, and, after hitting him in, like, throwing his skull into the wall, doesn't proceed to kill him. Just sort of leaves him there and goes to mess with Tara. So I'm also like, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just didn't think that they're going to do a love interest again, especially since that, Dewey immediately is like, first rule, don't trust the love interest. I was like, I thought you were going to subvert that, but you really didn't. You just told me straight up, like, that's how it's going to be.
No, and see, and that's where this movie gets you, because, like, you're expecting it, because they've been doing it all with, like, even the tropes and everything in this movie, like, subverting things, that you're like, they wouldn't do that again, but after that hospital scene, I was like, alright, you're definitely one. I was just not sure, like, up to, like, that little moment, I was like, it could be Liv, or maybe Amber, or maybe there's some, because, like, they pull, like, a weird, dumb thing in the second movie, where it's, like, a side character you never really even thought about, so I was unsure. That's why I was unsure, but I knew it was him, but yeah, he stabs her, and, like, he shows that, like, he's got the voice box, and he stole, Tara's inhaler and stuff, and...
I can't believe this worked.
Yeah.
Now I realize that is believable. Who would have thought?
Well, dude, exactly, and he was like, he was doing so well, being like, we need to get out of here. What are you talking about? I don't want to go back. Like, I was like...
See, he was playing it off so well, and he was so funny, I was like, surely he can't be the killer. Like...
But yeah, and he's like, gets her up and gets Sydney up and starts laying out her whole spiel and stuff, and, like, basically, he's just a huge Stab fan. He's such a huge Stab fan that he's hated all the terrible Stab movies that come out recently and decided that he wanted to make a better Stab movie.
Call back to earlier in the movie of toxic fandom.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. We now have our two killers.
Our two killers, Amber and Richie.
A classic duo.
Dude, in the moment that we are now in the kitchen, Amber has become Matthew Lillard.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Is,
she's literally Stu in every way.
Exactly. She's completely unhinged now. She's just like, this wasn't really her plan. She just kind of like met Richie or whatever and went along with it. She's just a psycho that wanted to jump onto the plan.
No, yeah, she's just psychotic and she's just having fun with this whole thing.
Exactly. Because Richie, kind of like Billy in the first movie, had the plan. He had a whole thing. Like, Billy was the person who wanted to, do a scary movie and, get vengeance, kinda, for what Sydney's mother did and stuff. He had this weird psychotic thing, but in the first movie, Matthew Lillard was just along for the ride.
Oh, yeah. She seems to also be along for the ride.
Yes.
Whereas Richie, his motive is that he just wants to make another good Stab movie.
Yeah. It's such a good example of where toxic fandom. You watch all these you watch all these slasher flicks or whatever, you're obsessed with them. You're unhinged and you're actually a psycho, and you're like, the best way to make a good one. Because he literally says, the good Stab movies ended after they stopped having, real live events to draw from.
Right, exactly. Because in universe, it's after Stab 3 when, even in those movies, Sidney Prescott stops being the main character, and then that's when they're like, oh, it's terrible. It just falls apart.
Exactly, and not based on real events, so it's gotta make it based off some real events, but also, Amber is, she's, yelling and, cheesing like Matthew Lillard was in that last one and, throwing her tongue around and stuff. I'm so they were all right, now you are the killer, so we need you to turn up the Matthew. We told you to watch Scream. We need you cheesing. We need you we need you to be unhinged.
She is very good at it.
Yes.
She is quite terrifying.
She is. She's been terrifying the whole time, kind of, but, she kind of just a scary-looking girl, but...
That was my prejudice earlier, when I was like, she is a murderer.
I was trying not to, as soon as I saw her, in that, scene with all... I didn't get a good look of her in that video at the beginning, but when she was with all the teens in, the third scene, I was like, I have a bad feeling about you, but...
Turns out that, after a second rewatch, she has bruises on her.
Missed that.
At the beginning of the movie, when she's introduced. Who would have thought? Because she had to be the first one. She had to be the one to attack Tara.
Because Richie was in Bethesda with Sam.
Right. And this brings us into the most fun part of the movie, which is also the most ridiculous part of the movie, and which makes you have to suspend belief to a ridiculous point. Amber basically is the killer for almost every single person.
Yes.
And has to be.
Yes.
Just based off of logistics.
Well, yes, and also, dude, in the scene where she attacks Richie and Tara, the killer looks like they're almost, because, what is it, Richie's tall. Richie's probably, 6'3" or something. The killer almost looks like maybe a little bit shorter than Richie in that scene.
This cannot be correct.
No. I'm pretty sure Tara, I know Jenna Ortega's, 5'2", I think. And, the other girl, Amber's maybe, 2 inches taller than her. So maybe, 5'4".
Right.
So it's all right. And then also, you could say, she overpowered Richie because maybe Richie was, he was playing
play
along.
acting
Exactly.
the whole time.
But then Dewey...
She overpowers Dewey.
She
takes 3 shots to the chest. Nothing. Barely even phased her. I mean, it's one of those things where...
You put the mask on, you get supernatural abilities.
Yeah, exactly. But this might be the most ridiculous example of any of the movies, including 4.
There's also no bruise on her head from when...
no, there isn't.
Chad hit her upside the skull with that candlestick.
Right, and that was definitely her. It had to be her.
Because Richie was in the car.
This is not very good continuity. And, but clearly, as we're going to find out, Amber is the most durable Ghostface of all time by far, and it's not close.
It's not close at all. It's insane.
It is fantastic.
Okay.
So naturally, we're recreating the scene in the kitchen where, the killers are explaining why they're doing this, and they're explaining how they're going to get away with it, and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, all right, we have to go find the person that we tied up, who, originally was Sydney's dad, but this time it's Tara.
Yeah, that's true. Quick thing, though. In this scene, Sam's like, you did all this just to make me, like, the star or the hero of your horror movie. And he's like, star? You're the villain, obviously. Like, you're the daughter of Billy Loomis. You see things. It's in that moment, too, where it's like, so have you told him that you see things then? Because maybe she mentioned that at some point and just didn't mention it.
Maybe he just figured because she's clearly taking antipsychotic pills, like.
That is true. But, like, I guess, yeah, I
mean, that's just a quick Google search away if you ever read what's on her bottle to figure out what she's taking.
Well, dude, like, antipsychotics have a wide range of uses. You could utilize antipsychotics in some, like, anxiety disorders and stuff.
Well, I mean, that's you talking, but if a normal person looks up and sees, oh, this person is taking an antipsychotic pill, they're a psychopath. That is immediately what people think.
That is fair. Not many people have my background, I guess.
No, they sure don't. It's how normal people think, Chris.
Alright, but he's basically said that you're like the villain or whatever, but I thought that was weird. But yeah, so they go to find Tara or whatever, just like in the first movie with the dad, and she's gone because Sam, trusted her because also it's one of those things where like the Tara thing could have been better. Like I would have actually there's no possible way it could be Tara. Like
no, literally, there's no way it could have been her.
Like besides us seeing that scene, like that's dramatic irony because we saw that scene.
Right, it's literally only because we're the audience and we know it cannot possibly be her.
Exactly, but there's also a second thing where she would have to be the most unhinged killer in the history of Scream movies to take that kind of punishment just to start the events of this movie. She gets stabbed.
Emma Roberts did it at the end of the movie in Scream 4.
Emma Roberts does stab herself, scratch herself, and throw herself into a glass table. I will agree. Tara has it so much worse.
True. She gets her leg snapped. That is still horrible. The sound of it alone is horrible.
You could not simulate that on your own. Like everything Emma Roberts that you can simulate, and also I could see you possibly doing. Like I could see like stabbing yourself in the side, scratching yourself, even chucking yourself through something or whatever, getting a few glass pieces. The damage that Tara sustains in that first scene is insane, and you can't even if they did like a thing where like they had her accomplice stab her and stuff, like they could have maybe tried, but like it'd be so hard to believe that you'd be that crazy to do that just to lure Sam back.
No, yeah, it was never believable that she possibly could have been this. Now, it starts becoming unbelievable when she starts beating the hell out of Amber out of nowhere. And it's like the most durable character, probably the strongest character in any movie, is just getting beaten up by a crutch by this girl who has a broken leg and, can't produce any momentum swinging this thing.
Well, Richie's safe when he's like, oh yeah, what do I have to fear from your crippled sister? Like, and it's a good point. It's like
this is an excellent point, except the fact that he's also crippled because he was shot in the leg.
Yes, but that's completely disappeared.
that will never be brought up again, and he will be moving very normally the rest of the way through.
He will be. He was limping at first, could barely get to the gun. Pretty fine now.
This is not important anymore.
No, exactly. But yeah, so she's starting to beat up, Tara or whatever, and like he lowers his. Oh, well, I guess we also missed another scene where, like, Sydney goes to try to, like, grab something, and they stab Sydney in the stomach. And they're like,
yeah, Amber does.
Yeah, Amber stabs her and is like, sorry, Sydney, you can't survive again in this movie. It's too unbelievable for you to keep surviving all this. And
An excellent point.
And when he said that, I was like, oh my goodness, are they? Because, like, they could kill her. Like, that'd be nuts.
I mean, they already killed Dewey, so I mean, like, clearly, like, they can get away with this. They make that point in that scene when Amber is like, we already killed Dewey. Like, one of the main characters is already dead. Like, we can do this again.
Yeah. But yeah, so she's, like, bleeding out, but, when
they bring Galen.
They bring Gail in, yes. No,
Because, she was shot in the stomach, and she's still fully conscious, still kicking.
She's been fully conscious the entire time, which is at least what's elapsed since Sydney's gone inside. It's probably been 5 to 7 minutes. Because she just goes in, immediately starts shooting, then all these events start happening. So I could see she's been outside for a few minutes. But then, what is it? Richie goes to check on Amber because he's hearing her get her ass kicked by Tara. And they jump him, or like at least Sam jumps him or whatever. And then it becomes a thing where he's looking for Sam, and the other girl overpowers Tara and knocks her back. So she heads back into the kitchen to start fighting Sydney and Gale. Amber starts fighting them.
Right, and this is also a great scene because it doesn't make any sense at all. Because
Amber's the toughest killer ever, and these two people have gut wounds.
No, seriously, they're extremely durable as well. Where one's been shot in the gut and the other one's been stabbed in the gut, and they still have the willpower to be fighting.
They lift her up and throw her over the island.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how this is possible. And, this brings out great dialogue from Amber when she was like, we met on a Reddit board. Like, I was radicalized online. And, Gail's not taking it, and she's like, yeah, well, you still killed Dewey. And she's like, yeah, and he died like a pussy.
Yeah.
And I was like, brutal.
Dude, exactly. Like, she switches on a dime.
On a dime!
Like, overpowers Sydney, overpowers Gale, starts trying to strangle Gale. And then again, she's showing how much of a psycho she is. She's like, I can't believe I get to do you both. Like, it's like, oh my god. Like,
she's so crazy.
Like, she's crazier than Matthew Lillard. Like,
oh, for real, she is.
Like, she's actually terrifying. Like, Richie's in this to, like, make a movie or whatever, and he is a psycho and everything, but Amber's actually terrifying. Like,
she is so scary in this movie.
Like, Amber just got in this to kill people. Richie wanted to make a movie.
All of a sudden, Amber is so much fun, and I love her as a character, just because she's completely psychotic.
Unhinged, like...
Oh, God. And this is such a fun moment where they push her back. They push Amber back. She happens to turn on the oven, and she sets herself on fire. And this is the greatest callback in the history of this podcast, where once again, we have to talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
Where this same actress, Mickey Madison, literally dies in the same way in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when Leonardo DiCaprio pulls out a flamethrower and burns her to death.
Amazing.
Oh,
God. It's one of the things where it's too, like, as I was watching the first time, didn't even realize it. Watching it the second time, after that conversation, I was like, oh my god.
No, literally that first time, I was like, oh, this is so good. I love this right now. I didn't know what to expect with her being in it, but after seeing that Tara was her same character in You, I was like, all right, well, I already think that Amber's going to be the killer. Like, they're going to do a similar thing. And then they did it. And I was like, so good!
But, bro, she goes up like a torch. And
she does.
And the funny thing is, like, she says earlier, like, it's time you guys pass the torch. And they're like, well, they say something like, good luck with that torch.
Yeah, good luck with that torch, whatever, one-liner. Funny.
They get quippy as hell at the end of this movie, like.
Well, I mean, like, obviously Sydney and Gale have to be quippy about this. They've been through this 100,000 times. This actually makes sense that they're quippy.
Well, it's one of the things that makes sense to, like, in a normal situation, after, your ex-husband gets brutally butchered in a hospital, you'd be a little bit more disheveled.
I mean, to be fair, they have been quippy before. At the end of Scream 4, when they kill Emma Roberts, Gale says, oh, can I say one last thing? Emma Roberts is like, what? And she's like, clear. And Robert says, clear. Sydney says, clear. And then she has the defibrillator and fucking shocks her to death.
Yes. They have been quippy before. But that's, like, that was like a one. Like there's been clips right before they end the killer and stuff. They were doing it each time this time. Like they're doing.
Oh
it
yeah.
every time. Like it's like that's like once. But like,
what am I watching, a Marvel movie?
bruh. Maybe that'll be what the new Blade movie's like.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so they end her. She goes up like a torch somehow, like as if she was smothered in gasoline, but she just hit a hot stove. And then
all of a sudden now we're just ignoring them entirely. It's
exactly.
like they don't exist in the story. Now
Richie's
we're just down to Sam and Richie.
If I was Richie, I'd be a little curious about what I just heard in the kitchen. Like, just a bunch of struggling, some fighting, someone yelling and screaming, maybe sounding like Amber. Doesn't care. He's looking for Sam. He's got his knife or whatever.
And a gun.
And he's actively talking about that movie, like the first movie. He's like, what are you going to do, Sam? Pop out in a ghost face costume and stab me with like an umbrella or something?
Haha! Not this time. Then, once again, they ruin it. I don't think we mentioned the other times that Billy Loomis shows up in this, but once again,
he shows up in the car earlier.
She shows up in the car, yeah, whatever. But now, Sam is hallucinating Billy Loomis talking to her again, and he shows her where an extra knife is.
Well, that's there, but she comes out to try to attack him, and they fall down the stairs. And she's climbing away or whatever. And, like, Richie's assuming she's trying to get to the door or whatever. And he's got the gun in his hand. But we see that she looks in the mirror and sees Billy Loomis. And he's, like, using his eyes to show her where a knife is or whatever. And then, like, Richie flips her over and stuff and everything. And he's like, what are you going to do or whatever. And he has this is another critical thing. Like, he has the gun to her face. Finger on the trigger. She grabs the gun and the knife, it stabs him through the mouth. He does not pull the trigger.
No, he sure doesn't.
It's one of those weird things where it's like, you shouldn't have put that in. You should have, like, just had him on top of her. Then, like, I could, but it's semantics.
Well, he may also know that he's in a movie and that he's meant to die.
That was the secret all along. Richie knew he was the bad guy when he died in this movie. But then Sam just becomes completely unhinged and, really showing off a very psychotic side.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, considering everything that's happened. Like, I'm surprised Sydney does not kill people like this either.
Well, I feel like they're, trying to show that difference there. They're also, like, with how she looks, she kind of resembles, Billy at the end of the first Scream movie.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't have, like, a t-shirt on with the tank top with the wounds and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar. And then she starts just stabbing him brutally to death.
She stabs him like 20 times or something.
And he's still alive.
And he's still alive. Good on him.
Yeah, and he's saying, like, but what about my ending?
Fuck you, this is your ending.
Slices his throat.
Brutal. They keep doing the neck thing in this movie. Like, it's horrible.
Dude, it's...
There's something about taking a knife to someone's neck that is just super unpleasant to watch.
It's a lot more visible than, stabbing someone in, like, anywhere else.
Right.
Like, you get to see that. Like, you don't get to, like, see someone, like, bleed out of a wound or whatever. Like, you just see them stabbed and they fall, like... But, yeah, like...
Horrible.
Yeah, just the worst. But, yeah, she's dead. And then she gets up and she does the thing that Ghostface always does, where she wipes the blade with her hand.
Oh, yeah. That scene, like, literally that part of it horrified me because it looks like the bottom of her hand was, like, touching the bottom of the blade. Like, it looked like she was slicing her hand. And I was like, you freak. Like, you are Billy Loomis's daughter.
Well, that's what they're trying to show in that end, like, with her doing that so violently or whatever. They're trying to show that connection and stuff. At the same time, I guess this could be something that was always there, but I don't know. I think they could have better alluded to it in some other ways, like maybe showing her like a little bit more vicious at times or whatever. But
stupid. The whole Billy Loomis thing is really dumb.
I agree. Well, they could have kept the Billy Loomis thing, just her being his daughter, and cut out all the visions, cut all that nonsense out of there. I did not need that. I knew that
did not help.
It didn't
at all. It added nothing.
It added nothing. It was an attempt at a red herring. Where, it's like, oh, she's
Ooh,
crazy or something.
maybe
Like,
she's a
maybe
killer.
Exactly. Like, that's literally like
She's clearly not the killer.
she's clearly not.
Even first viewing through, like, she's clearly not.
No, exactly. Like, there's no way she could have done the first thing or whatever. Even if, like, she said like she had like an accomplice. Like, it's a red herring. It's a red herring to movies like I said, like My Bloody Valentine, other movies where the killer is secretly the protagonist and they're just unstable and don't realize it. But it's not done as well. It's just added on. It's really only big gripe with the movie where it's like, this really did not need to be here. This is terrible.
It's very dumb.
It's
But naturally, the killer has to come back one more time. So before this can even happen, Sam shoots Richie like 3 times. And then it's like, alright, it's over. Then, the most durable character in any Scream movie, Amber, comes out completely burned. Like, she doesn't even look like herself anymore. Starts running through the hallway, and they just shoot her in the head once. Or Tara does.
And she says, I still prefer the Babadook.
Never seen it.
Exactly. But see, it's one of the things again where it's like, they're just being quippy. Also, dude, just one of those random comments. I'd like to see how they explain that to the cops. Like, so you killed him in self-defense? Yep. You stabbed him repeatedly in self-defense? Mm-hmm. Okay, I can see that. You then sliced his throat. Yep.
Yep.
And then you shot him several times in the skull.
Yes. Dude, this is Woodsboro. This happens, like, on a 10-year basis. Like, they're used to this.
I agree with you. At the same time, knowing that, and knowing that she got away with that, anybody actually could get away with pulling off the original scheme from the first Scream movie of pretending that, they are just a survivor from the actual killer. If you can get away with doing...
See, the only time it's legitimate is if Sydney's there.
Like, it's just like, dude, like, I mean, like, suspending reality and everything, but, like, knowing that the cops will, like, accept that, dude, oh, man. But, yeah, that's basically the end. We are, like, wrapping up. And the
we see all the surviving characters. Chad lives.
Surprised.
Somehow he lived.
I was so surprised.
Mindy lived.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness. Obviously all the rest of the characters that were there at the end of the movie, they all lived. Which, always gives the potential for a sequel. They actually have enough characters this time, whereas, in Scream 4, when they did the reboot, they killed off every character.
Oh, yeah, dude. Like, literally.
Except one. The blonde girl, who was supposed to be Randy. I forget what her name is.
Kirby.
Yeah, Kirby.
Yeah.
She's still alive.
Yeah, well, they left her death ambiguous or whatever. Like, she got stabbed, but, like, she didn't...
Well, that's in this movie also.
Mm.
When Richie is going through one of the videos on Stab 8, when you look at the suggested videos on the right, the first suggestion is Kirby explaining how she survived.
Oh, I definitely missed that. Oh,
and the second thing on there is, like, Ryan Johnson, like, giving an interview also, which is so funny to me. There's just all these little things about this movie.
That's dope.
It makes it so good.
So good. But then again, there's it's the end. Chad and Mindy are obviously in stretchers going to the hospital. So is Tara.
Sydney and Gail are just sitting there.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Oh my god.
Sydney, Gail, and Sam are all just like, Sam is walking around. Sam got stabbed in the side and then had a very physical confrontation with her boyfriend. Gail got shot in the stomach way before both of them.
They're just chilling.
They're just in blankets, just relax. It's like as if they just sewed him up real quick and took the bullet out of Gail, and they're good. They don't need to go to the hospital. I was like, all right,
these characters can't die.
Scream is the realistic slasher flick with completely unrealistic levels of durability of these characters. Like,
love it,
dude.
Absolutely love it.
Love it. But just like the last one, after Sam asks Sydney if she'll ever get better or be okay, and she says eventually and stuff, and that's basically the end of that.
Sweet sentiment.
Yeah, I mean,
Gail decides that she's not going to write about this particular set of murders and that. She's going to write a book about Dewey, which I thought was very sweet. And, this character growth. And if they bring either of these characters back in another Scream movie, I will be extremely mad.
I will be too.
This needs to be the end of them in this.
Oh, definitely. This was, as Mindy would say, this was a good requel. They brought in great new characters.
It's a great requel.
Exactly, while being a continuation of the original story.
All right, Chris, what do you rate it? Out of 10, Scream 5, 5 cream. Nice.
5 cream. All right. I would put Scream 5 at probably... I give it an 8. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10?
Mm-hmm.
Well, sheesh, we're going to be on completely different things. I'm going to give it like a 6.
Really?
Yeah, even though I do love it.
Hey, that's fair.
There's just so many silly things about it. I really thought we were going to be opposites about this. I really thought you were going to give it way less.
I think, see, we got on topical. So next week, Jack, we're back to the good old out there whatever movies that could be good, could be bad. They would definitely be wild. Not wild things, but definitely wild.
Okay, so we're doing Swordfish.
Do you want to do Swordfish?
Bro, I'd love to do fucking Swordfish.
All right. Tune in next week, guys, when we do the seminal classic Swordfish with Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry, what is it? How am I forgetting?
John Travolta.
John Travolta.
Yeah.
And Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle is so funny in this movie. Don Cheadle does not make any sense in this movie. This movie does not make any sense, but as always, we'll get there. That should be our title. We'll get there.
As always, we'll get there. So stay tuned. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris.
I'm Jack.
And we're just watching movies.
I guess.
Peace.